Marcus Thompson stared at the holographic citation floating in front of his beat-up Honda Civic, wondering how exactly he had managed to get a parking ticket on an alien space station. A glowing purple text seemed to mock him in what he assumed was the local language, accompanied by symbols that looked like mathematical equations, having an argument with geometric shapes. "Excuse me," he called to a passing figure that resembled a cross between a praying mantis and a disco ball. "Can you tell me what this says?" The creature paused, its crystalline surface refracting the station's artificial sunlight into rainbow patterns across the metallic floor. "Human vessel has been improperly stationed in Royal Docking Bay 7. Fine equals 12,000 galactic. Credits or marriage bond to Princess Luna of the Tarkos Empire." Marcus blinked. "I'm sorry, did you just say marriage?" Tarkosian law is very specific about parking violations in royal spaces. Payment or matrimonial contract. No exceptions. The human rubbed his temples, feeling a headache forming behind his eyes. He had exactly $47 in his checking account, and no idea what the exchange rate was for galactic credits. The marriage option seemed equally ridiculous until he considered the alternative of potentially spending the rest of his life in an alien prison for what amounted to poor parallel parking skills. 3 hours later, Marcus found himself standing in what appeared to be a courthouse designed by someone who had only heard vague descriptions of geometry. Princess Luna emerged from a side chamber, and he nearly forgot his current predicament. She stood 7 feet tall with skin that shifted between silver and blue depending on the angle of light, eyes like captured starlight, and in presence that made the air itself seem to pay attention. "You are the human who chose matrimonial settlement?" Her voice carried the sound of wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I guess so. This is all pretty surreal, to be honest." Luna studied him with curiosity that seemed genuine rather than diplomatic. "You do not appear to be a spy or an assassin. Why did you come to our space?" "Wrong turn at Jupiter, actually. I was trying to get to the Mars colony for a job interview, but my navigation system apparently has strong opinions about scenic routes." Something that might have been amusement flickered across her features. "The universe has an interesting sense of humor." The ceremony lasted 15 minutes and involved signing documents in 3 different languages, none of which Marcus could read. The officiating creature looked like a flowering tree that had achieved consciousness and decided to pursue law. When it was over, he was apparently married to an alien princess and somehow legally exempt from parking fines throughout 17 different star systems. "So what happens now?" Marcus asked as they walked through corridors lined with flowing water that defied several laws of physics. "Now you learn why I agreed to this arrangement." Luna's tone shifted, becoming serious. "My father rules through fear and oppression. Our people suffer while he builds monuments to his own ego. The marriage law exists because no one has ever been foolish enough to choose it over paying the fine. And you figured someone crazy enough to marry a complete stranger might be crazy enough to help with other things?" The thought had occurred to me. Over the following weeks, Marcus discovered that his new wife was brilliant, funny, and absolutely committed to overthrowing her father's regime. She introduced him to a network of rebels that included representatives from dozens of species, each with their own reasons for opposing Emperor Vex's rule. There was Captain Finn, a bear-like creature whose home planet had been strip-mined for rare metals. Dr. K, whose medical supplies had been confiscated to fund another palace expansion. Commander Brooke, a former Imperial officer who had defected after being ordered to destroy a refugee convoy. "What exactly can I contribute here?" Marcus asked during his first rebel meeting. "I'm just a guy who got lost in space and has really bad luck with parking." "You represent something important," Luna explained. "Hope, the idea that someone can stumble into our world and immediately choose to do the right thing, even when it makes no logical sense." Plus, added Captain Finn, you have something we do not. You think like a human. Marcus learned what that meant when they began planning their first major operation. The rebels had been trying for months to infiltrate a weapons depot, approaching. A problem with careful strategy and complex infiltration techniques. Marcus looked at their detailed plans and suggested they just walk in the front door. The security is designed to catch military strikes and stealth operations, he pointed out. But what if we just pretended to be making a delivery? Sometimes, the simplest approach works because nobody expects it. The plan succeeded brilliantly. Marcus drove a supply truck straight through the main gate, waved at the guards, and helped load stolen weapons into rebel transports while wearing an Imperial uniform he had bought from a second-hand shop. Word of their success spread through the underground networks. More groups joined their cause. Marcus found himself accidentally becoming a symbol of resistance, the human who had married into royalty and chosen rebellion over comfort. Emperor Vex finally took notice when they liberated an entire prison moon using nothing but forged paperwork and Marcus's talent for bureaucratic confusion. The Emperor's response was swift and brutal, deploying the Imperial fleet to crush the rebellion before it could grow stronger. We cannot win through conventional warfare, Luna admitted as they studied tactical displays showing the overwhelming enemy forces. We need something unexpected. Marcus stared at the holographic representation of the Emperor's flagship, an idea forming in his mind. What if we don't try to fight them at all? What if we just ask them to stop? The plan was insane, even by their standards. Marcus would broadcast a message to the entire Imperial fleet, explaining the situation from his perspective as someone who had stumbled into their conflict by accident. No weapons, no threats, just one confused human asking soldiers to consider whether they were fighting for the right side. You could be executed for this, Luna warned. I could have been executed for parking in the wrong spot. At this point, I figure the universe owes me some good luck. The broadcast went live across every channel in the Imperial fleet. Marcus sat in a simple chair, looking directly into the camera, and told his story. He talked about getting lost, about choosing marriage over a parking fine, about discovering that his new wife was fighting to help people he had never met. I'm not asking you to betray your oaths, he concluded. I'm asking you to remember why you took them in the first place. Were you sworn to protect people or just to follow orders? The response was immediate. Ships began defecting from the Imperial fleet, their crews unwilling to fire on someone whose only crime had been helping others. Within hours, Emperor Vex found himself commanding a force too small to maintain control over his empire. The revolution succeeded not through violence, but through the simple power of asking people to choose between fear and hope. Marcus never did make it to that job interview on Mars, but he found something better. A purpose, a family, and the knowledge that sometimes the wrong turn leads to exactly where you need to be. Chat controls Sonnet 4.